You will be stepping forward momentarily.
Okay, Dave, Dave will host. All right. Just let me know when you need to see me.
Okay, actually, you could go black the whole meeting if you wanted to. So let me see if I can. Oh, okay, you went black just now. Okay, so I'm gonna go in meeting. I'm gonna leave meeting, and I am going to make Dave Little the host.
Is Duncan completely gone?
Yeah. I think he's
All right.
exited. Okay.
So
Okay.
Minnesota leads off.
Right.
Oh, we're at Canto 19, 20, I mean,
I think it's 20. I think we're about to start.
what did you say, Lois?
I think we're beginning 20, right?
Okay.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. All right, very good. All right, well, so I'll begin then.
Do you want to hear
yeah.
the
Yeah,
notes?
why don't you give us an introduction here, Dee Dee?
Okay, there's just a short introduction from Sayers. In the fourth Borga of the eighth circle, Dante sees the sorcerers whose heads are twisted so that they can only look behind them and who are therefore compelled to walk backwards. Virgil tells him about the origin of Mantua. The moon is setting as the poets leave the Borgia. That's it.
Oh, all right. Well,
Borgia, maybe. How do we pronounce that?
Bolgia?
Borgia?
Bolgia? Well, that's how I'll say it anyway. All right, well, begin. Of a new pain behoves me to make verses and give material to the 20th canto of the first song, which is of the submerged. I was already thoroughly disposed to peer down into the uncovered depth, which bathed itself with tears of agony. And people saw I through the circular valley, silent and weeping, coming at the pace which in this world the litanies assume. As lower down my sight descended on them, wondrously each one seemed to be distorted from chin to the beginning of the chest. For towards the reins the countenance was turned, and backward it behoved them to advance, as to look forward had been taken from them. Perchance indeed by violence of palsy, someone has thus been wholly turned awry, but I ne'er saw it, nor believed it can be. As God may render thee, reader, gather fruit from this thy reading. Think now for thyself, how could I ever keep my face unmoistened, when our own image near me I beheld distorted so, the weeping of the eyes along the fissure bathed the hinder parts. Next, please.
Truly I wept, leaning upon a peak of the hard crag, so that my escort said to me, art thou too of the other fools? Here pity lives when it is wholly dead. Who is a greater reprobate than he who feels compassion at the doom divine? Lift up thy head, and see for whom opened the earth before the Thebans' eyes, wherefore they all cried, whither rushest thou? Amphiaraus, why dost leave the war? And downward ceased he not to fall amain, as far as Minos, who lays hold on all. See, he has made a bosom of his shoulders, because he wished to see too far before him. Behind he looks, and backward goes his way. Next, please.
Behold, Tiresias, who his semblance changed, when from a male a female he became, his members being all of them transformed, and afterwards was forced to strike once more the two entangled serpents with his rod, ere he could have again his manly plumes. That Arun's is who backs the other's belly, who in the hills of Luni there were grubs. The Cararese who housed underneath. among the marbles wide a cavern had for his abode, whence to behold the stars and see the view was not cut off them him. And she there who is covering up her breasts, which thou beholdest not, with loosened tresses, and on that side has all the hairy skin, was Manto, who made quest through many lands afterwards, tarried there where I was born, whereof I would thou list you a little. After her father had from life departed, and the city of Bacchus had become enslaved, she a long season wandered through the world. Above, in beauteous Italy, lies a lake at the Alps foot that shoots in Germany over Tyrol and has the name of Benaco. By 1,000 springs, I think, and more is betted, twixt Garda and Val Camonica, Penino, which water that grows stagnant in that lake. Next, please.
There is an island in its middle that the pastors of Trent, Brescia, and Verona, should they pass that way, would bless. Peschiera, a strong and splendid fortress against the Brescians and the Bergamese, sits on the lowest point of land around. There, all the water Benaco's bosom cannot hold flows over and descends into a river running through green pastures. This river, as it leaves the lake and all the way to Governolo, is called Mincio until it falls into the Po. Before that, after but the briefest run, it levels off and spreads to make a swamp, sometimes scarce of water in the summer. When she passed that way, the cruel virgin saw dry land in the middle of the marsh, where no one lived and no one tilled the soil. Next.
There, shunning human contact, she did stay with her familiar household. There she plied her arts, there lived, there left her empty clay. After the scattered folk from far and wide drew to the spot which lay defensively, being girded by the swamp on every side, or those dead bones they built their city, to be for her sake named, that chose the place out thus, Mantua, with no further augury. Far more than now, it once was populous, ere Casalodi's folly fell to the sword of Pinamont, who was treacherous. I charge thee then, if stories go abroad other than this of how my city grew, let no such lying tales the truth defraud. Master, for me thy teaching is so true, and so compels belief, all other tales, said I, were dust and ash compared thereto. But tell me of this great crowd that yonder trails, if any worthy of note be now in sight, my mind harks back to that before all else. Didi?
Then said he to me, he from the cheek thrusts out his beard upon his swarthy shoulders, was at the time when Greece was void of males, so that there scarce remained one in the cradle, an augur, and with Colchis gave the moment in Aulis when to sever the first cable. Eriphilus his name was, and so sings my lofty tragedy in some part or other, that knowest thou well, who knowest the whole of it. The next, who is so slender in the flanks, was Michael Scott, who of a verity of magical illusions knew the game. Behold Guido Benatti, behold Astante, who now unto his leather and his thread would fain have stuck, but he too late repents. Behold the wretched ones who left the needle, the spool, and rock, and made them fortune tellers. They wrought their magic spells with herb and image. But come now, for already holds the confines of both the hemispheres, and under Seville touches the ocean wave. cane and the thorns. And yesternight the moon was round already. Thou shouldest remember well it did not harm thee. From time to time within the forest deep. Thus spake he to me, and we walked the while.
Well, okay, so
We start reading segment by
Sure.
segment now.
right,
Yeah.
I'll start over here. I'll begin again then. Of a new pain behoves me to make verses and give material to the 20th canto of the first song, which is of the submerged. I was already thoroughly disposed to peer down into the uncovered depth, which bathed itself with tears of agony. And people saw I through the circular valley, silent and weeping, coming at the pace which in this world the litanies assume. As lower down my sight descended on them, wondrously each one seemed to be distorted from chin.
Hey, John, how about which in this world the litanies assume? Do we know it's that pace? What would the pace be?
Good question.
Dee Dee, could I make a suggestion? Why don't we let Minnesota John finish just the part he's going to read, and then let's go back and tear into that. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's different, but it's fine.
Okay.
As lower down my sight descended on them, wondrously each one seemed to be distorted from chin to the beginning of the chest. For towards the rain the countenance was turned, and backward it behoved them to advance, as to look forward had been taken from them. Perchance indeed by violence of palsy, someone has been thus wholly turned awry, but I ne'er saw it, nor believed it can be. As God may let thee, reader, gather food from this thy reading, think now for thyself, how could I ever keep my face unmoistened, when our own image near me I beheld, distorted so, the weeping of the eyes along the fissure bathed the hinder parts. All right, so I guess this is all right, the litanies.
Litanies are a phrase followed by pray for us. So the chant would be Queen of Heaven, pray for us. Queen of the Rosary, pray for us. Queen of the Oceans, pray for us. It's that.
Okay.
So a slow pace of walking.
Yeah. One person says the opening line, and then the congregation says, pray for us.
Have mercy.
Thank you.
Yeah, bless you. So,
And what are the rains? The next beginning of the next verse.
What is the word you're looking for?
Toward the rains, the countenance was turned.
Well, mine says their chins and chests were twisted.
So there's no rains in yours.
No, rain as in water or rain as in horses?
these are
REINS, horses.
Horses rain.
it's like Reni. Maybe that's a question of Italian. Is that reins? It sounds like the reins of the reins for a horse.
Right. So they're turning, and as though they're following a horse or being pulled by a horse. They're being pulled backward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's the line?
12.
12.
13, 14, 13. Toward the reins, the countenance was turned. I see it now.
Well, my translation says their faces were reversed upon their shoulders.
And I've got one that says, of each was turned towards his own backside.
Backside.
Yeah. Is that what you have, Decio?
Yeah, backside. Yeah.
Rains, it's I'm a little distracted by a dog, but rainy in the Italian are like
Because they were twisted. Their legs, their feet were
in
twisted.
English used that way.
Wait a minute. One at a time, please.
John, what were you saying about rains?
The Italian, which I just looked up, is loins, is what the dictionary gave.
Oh, really?
Back,
But I've not seen the
Back.
word used that way in English before, to my recollection, but that's apparently what our translator is doing.
Really?
Dee Dee, I
Because-
think you're the only one with rains, Dee Dee.
Well, that's the Longfellow translation. I've got the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
because
So
they,
what
they
DCO?
their feet were twisted, so they had to walk backwards.
Right.
Yeah, so that.
So, and it's like, it sounds like something's pulling it, but really it's in Italian, like it's turning toward their own backsides.
It just turned around.
Yeah.
They couldn't see in front. They just could see backwards.
Yeah. It's a kind of interesting linguistic connection.
Yeah. I suppose the idea, if they're supposed to be the soothsayers who are supposed to be able to forecast the future, they're being punished. They're making always look at the past. So
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And they have to, they're stuck.
they're stuck.
Yeah.
But it seems to have, for some reason, this seems to have moved Dante, like he's been moved like never moved before, in a way that he brought to tears, and then Chasen. Well, we should go on, I suppose, but he's how could I ever keep my face unmoistened when our own image near me I beheld distorted so? I suppose he's saying, I suppose what he's really weeping for is just this image of humanity, of the distorted of humanity in this way. In the sense, he sees himself in this twisted position.
Yeah, in 22, line 22 says that they were weeping, and their tears go back by the back until the bottoms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right, that's.
Mm-hmm.
I have, Decio, what I have for my translation was spilled down to bathe the buttocks at the cleft.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
the buttocks. Yeah, the buttocks.
So these
Yeah.
are-
I was listening to a podcast on this, and the translation that person used was "my ass crack."
Right. Yeah.
Well, Longfellow is more polite
yeah.
along the feature.
Tears in the ass. Tears in the ass.
You know,
Yeah.
So now Virgil's going to answer him. Did we start that yet?
No, that would be whoever's next. That's John. John from.
Yeah, I had to run out to tend to dog for a minute. So what line are we starting?
Where you started before, and just read.
Truly, pressed on with truly I wept.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
what is that?
25.
25.
Truly I wept, leaning upon a peak of the hard crag, so that my escort said, to me art thou too of the other fools. Here pity lives when it is wholly dead. Who is a greater reprobate than he, who feels compassion at the doom divine? Lift up thy head, and see for whom opened the earth before the Thebans' eyes. Wherefore they all cried, whither rushest thou, Amphiaraus? Why dost leave the war? And downward ceased he not to fall amain, as far as Minos, who lays hold on him.
Do you know this story, John?
Yeah. Amphiaraus, when Oedipus had to blind himself and go into exile in Thebes for having married his mother and killed his father, his sons got into a dispute, and one of them, and I mix up the two names, but it doesn't matter. One of them expelled the other one. The other one then got kings from 7 different cities to come and lay siege to Thebes. And Amphiaraus was one of these kings. Because he could foresee that he would die at Thebes, he tried to hide so he wouldn't be forced to go there. And his wife exposed him, so off he went to Thebes, where he met his end. So, and that's in I think that's in Statius. Yeah, I'm sure that's in Statius, who we're going to see up in Purgatory, the poet Statius,
Oh, well.
who's not much read these days. Actually,
Well.
nothing in Latin is read much these days, but it's another story.
It's relative.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's Amphiaraus, who is the is one of the sorcerers here.
Mhm.
So
What struck me here was what preceded. This made me think of the book of Job, where Virgil basically says to Dante, "Who are you to question what the Supreme Being decides to do,
yeah,
or how he decides to mete out punishment?" Um,
Yeah, it's similar.
It's a very Old Testament God.
Yeah.
And Dante is ignoring God's will in the pity that arises in him for these
However,
particular sinners.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
as a Christian, should we not feel empathy and sympathy for them?
No,
Right.
that's
New Testament.
exactly.
And he has sympathy earlier in many cantos for other sinners.
Right.
But here, Virgil chastises him. Maybe it's because he does seem more upset with this particular punishment.
Well, to begin with, he doesn't know what their sin is yet, does he?
Oh,
So
I
if
think
you're,
so.
do we know that Dante knows what the sin is?
I don't know, but I think so.
I think what certainly in the earlier tercets, he's just seeing these people walking towards him
Yeah.
with their heads turned backwards. And I think it's sympathy for their physical disability, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the words he uses is it reminds him of this is what palsy is like.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a simple human sympathy for these disabled people who are having a really terrible crisis
Right.
of their bodies twisted like that.
And I suppose, Lois, it's a warning to us as the readers. Don't feel too sorry for these people, because I do.
Yeah.
Like you, it's kind of natural pity.
Yeah.
And, I keep bringing up Paolo and Francesca, but does the punishment fit the crime? And ultimately, John, as you said, it does harken back to Job. And ultimately, in Job, God's argument is, who are you to question me? I created the world, I made the Leviathan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really not an argument, it seems to me, from a position of justice, but from a position of power. So,
Yeah. We're not left with much of a satisfactory, from our modern minds, a satisfactory answer as to why soothsaying, or if this what these people are, what is the sin there? I suppose that there's some place in the Bible that says, that you shall not be listen to soothsayers or something like that. It seems to me, maybe I don't remember where I've read something like that, but it almost seems like more like a kind of something like Paul would have written about, not listening to fortune tellers and people like that, I suppose.
the sin apparently is being a soothsayer.
Yeah.
And I sort of question if this is a talent. These people have this ability.
I was just say it's a gift.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And Lois, I'm wondering if it's if it's a matter of these guys weren't approved by the Soothsayers Union, because if you recall, Joseph is probably the most famous, I guess, soothsayer in the Bible, because he had the dreams, and he went to Pharaoh,
Right.
and predicted the dreams, and he got to Pharaoh because some guy who was in jail with him, if I remember the story correctly, said, "Oh yeah, I knew this guy could like interpret dreams and this sort of thing." So the bowels of the jail yawned open, and Joseph came in and translated the dream. So I'm wondering if these were just like unapproved soothsayers.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we had in line
In
for
that particular story,
Hard to say.
Tyrannus was also a good player.
Tiresias.
They're like with who is it in the Bible? I'm sorry. What's
Job.
not Job,
So Joseph.
Joseph.
Okay, Joseph.
Yeah.
With Joseph,
Son of Jacob.
he's telling the Pharaoh there's going to be a famine.
Right.
So, and with these, they're apparently making trouble. So Joseph wasn't making trouble, but these soothsayers are making trouble of one sort or another.
Well, to use Mr. Little's phrase, they're not approved by the union. In actual fact, if you look at the story of Joseph, there is a complication in there, which is that Joseph had interpreted the dream for the baker who was being punished by the Pharaoh, and the baker was released. And the baker was supposed to tell the Pharaoh about Joseph. But the baker forgot completely about it and did not tell the Pharaoh until they were faced with this dire situation of the Pharaoh having dreams. And the Pharaoh attempting to get soothsayers, Egyptian soothsayers, to interpret the dreams for him. And then the baker remembered about Joseph and told the Pharaoh about him. The reason I bring that up is by throwing in this extra little monkey wrench, it makes it obvious that Joseph was approved by the Soothsayers Union.
Right. Well, maybe there's a union for the good mystics and a union for the troublemaking mystics. Two unions.
Yeah, well, in this case, the union is simply Jehovah.
Right. Well, so we're talking. There's the next. I suppose we were getting beyond this, but about Tiresias, we haven't read that far in our small thing here, but maybe these other. I'm not familiar. Tiresias wasn't. He was the prophet or the soothsayer in the Odyssey, as I recall. Right? Isn't he the one who was?
He shows up in Oedipus Rex.
Oh, he does. Okay, different one then. Okay.
Also, Odysseus went to the Hades and he met Tiresias. He went to visit his mother, and he was received by Tiresias, who said that the Penelope has many people interested in to marry her. So he had to get rid of these people interested in get married with his wife. So Tiresias informed him about this situation at home, at Ithaca, in Ithaca.
Ithaca, yes.
From my notes, it says that Tiresias was changed into a woman, and then she went back.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what
Because the goddess wanted to know who had more pleasure in sex, the women or the men.
Right.
And so he said that was the man. So they chastised him, transformed him into a woman, and had to live it 1,000 years, and became a soothsayer.
And didn't he see some snakes doing it? And
He
that
had he had a rod. It was a branch or something, and he had to separate them.
right. And
Yeah,
that
there were two twigs or whatever, and when he separated them, there were two snakes.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think, what got him changed.
Right.
Transformed.
That's to change genders. Yeah. Yeah. He didn't have to undergo the surgery. It just see some snakes and you're good.
Okay. I guess they left
So
that
he was hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite.
hermaphrodite. Yes. Okay. So he's a hermaphrodite then. Okay.
So
I heard that one.
yeah, so I just want to I'm just kind of thinking here like in this bullet, like who's in and who's out. So it's the non-union approved soothsayers. So for instance, the prophets who are union approved aren't down there because they're good. They have the seal of approval. But unless I missed it in the reading, the most famous soothsayer of antiquity doesn't make it here, and I'm not sure why. I'm thinking Cassandra.
Cassandra, but nobody believed in her. Nobody believed in
Maybe
her.
that's it. Maybe the point is you can be a soothsayer, but if nobody believes you, even though you're not operating with union approval, it doesn't matter because nobody believes you. You're not making a difference, right? That's a good point, Decio.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Julius Caesar, also in the play Julius Caesar by Shakespeare, they're also a soothsayer.
Yes, I was actually thinking of that one too. Yes, right.
Is there anything in the writing that implies that the soothsayers are correct in what they predict?
No.
Amphiaraus did because he knew he wouldn't go into the battle because he was going to lose it, and he did lose it.
Right.
And this is just Greek mythology, no?
And Tiresias makes accurate predictions. Well, in Oedipus, he tries to be guarded about it. And as you were saying before, in the Odyssey, well, I think that's his ghost in the Odyssey. I think, but
Yes, yeah, it is. It's in the underworld.
but his
The
predictions are accurate.
Hades, yeah.
Well, so essentially we're talking almost entirely about mythical individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know any historical soothsayers? They're all mythical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it depends on how much historical accuracy you want to look at the Bible, I suppose, but they're written as if they were real people, I think. But yeah.
Well,
Well,
my point in asking the question was, in reality, did Jehovah bestow the punishment on the soothsayers, or did they bestow it on themselves by treating inaccurate predictions as accurate, which is kind of like having your feet on backwards
Yeah.
and your head turned around to look at your ass.
Well, now there's raised another thing. Is I guess you could think of somebody from the Bible. I can think of was a soothsayer was Balaam. Speaking of asses,
Yeah.
we talked about the story of Balaam's ass,
Yeah.
and something I can never figure out why. I've read that multiple times, and I can never figure out why he's such a villain. But in any event, he was a soothsayer. Certainly was a soothsayer, and he was well. I don't know. I'll just throw that out there. He's not here.
well, you
Who
had
was
them in
the
the
prophet?
Greco-Roman world. Often they were interpreting sacrifices. You know, they'd look at
Oh,
the
so the
organs of a
prophet,
sacrificed animal or something, and
Mhm.
say
The
whether
prophets
something
were
should be
kind of
done.
soothsayers. The prophets also kind of soothsayers. Who was the one that forecasted the coming of the Redeemer? I forgot the name.
Isaiah?
Yeah, Isaiah. Then
Zechariah too, I think.
yeah, forecasted the coming of the Redeemer. No, it's a
Right.
forecast. Is also a soothsayer,
Yeah.
kind of.
Okay, well, you've been talking, did a little research on Tiresias. Okay, first of all, I don't know if it mentions it here, but he's Manto's father, the guy, the woman who founded Mantua. That's number one.
Yes.
Number two, when asked who experienced more pleasure having sex, men or women,
Yeah.
he said men experience 1/10 the pleasure that women experience. Hera did not like that. Now we said, like, are these soothsayers like true tellers or false tellers? And that's why they're down there. So I will let you draw your own conclusions on that one. But Hera did not like his answer, so she struck him blind. She felt he was being a bit
He became
sloppy.
blind. Yeah, he became
Right.
blind.
But then Zeus gave him the gift of foresight to kind of compensate him for that. So
But he lived 1,000 years. He lived 1,000 years.
Okay, I didn't know. I maybe didn't read that far along, but yeah, it's quite interesting.
And Dave, I think at line 58, we know that it's Manto's father.
Well, okay, thanks, Lois. Good.
Well, I think we have to keep on reading, don't we?
Yes. Well, I just want to say I think this is all arbitrary.
Correct.
You know, it's just you're not learning any lessons from this.
No. But he's trying to make a point here, and I guess I'm trying to understand what his point about this is. I mean, why
It's bad to be a soothsayer.
Yeah,
What's
well,
that?
wait, the war that Amphiaraus left, what were the consequences of his leaving? You know, did Thebes fall because he left? Or, I mean, these particular soothsayers, were they making trouble for the good guys? I don't know.
He only used his prophetic powers to try to stay out of the conflict. But the way the conflict was resolved, both of Oedipus's sons died fighting. And Creon, the brother, I believe, the previous king, or possibly Jocasta's brother, became the king of Thebes. And that leads to the Antigone story, where he declared that the one brother who had fought for Thebes be buried, and the brother who fought against Thebes not be buried. But Amphiaraus's actions didn't really affect anything. So he just finally went to the war and died in it.
Yeah, he seems kind of a marginal, or not a very important character in that whole drama.
Is this maybe like commentary on the Greek mythology?
I don't know. It does raise a question of for whom was Dante writing? How many readers would know this obscure account?
Who was his audience? Who was his audience? No?
Yeah.
Well, Aeneas, Virgil in the Aeneid, the characters were from Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So they probably would have known the Aeneid. I mean, I guess. Why would they not?
The Aeneid, I think any educated person who had Latin would know.
Mhm.
Statius, I'm a little less sure about, and even having read him, how much would one retain? The Aeneid probably got read over repeatedly, but I really don't. I'm just asking the question. I have no idea what exactly their reading habits were.
But Dante was an admirer of Virgil. Dante was an admirer of Virgil. He must know very well the Aeneid. No?
Yeah.
And maybe the bards sang the Aeneid, chanted the Aeneid to the public.
Well, I'm just,
Entirely possible.
this is just a stab here, but I mean, doesn't Virgil explain that, isn't he from Mantua?
Mantua, yeah. Was
Yeah,
from
I
Mantua,
think he
yeah.
says that. I think he does say that.
He
Yeah,
does.
he's from
He
Mantua.
explains later on.
I wonder if there's, and he goes on a little bit about this later in this canto. I wonder if there's some commentary that he's making, he's alluding to this so Virgil can explain this more, because this connection of Tiresias then being the father of the founder of Mantua, that sort of makes a connection here that this is what some sort of his city's origin story or something.
Yeah, this is a little strange too, because in the Aeneid, it's actually Manto's son, so Tiresias' grandson, who founds the city and names it after his mother. Whereas
That's interesting.
Dante has Virgil tell the story that Manto founded the city. So that's quite odd, because he should know the Aeneid thoroughly. So I guess there's two options: either he made a mistake, or he had a reason for making the change.
Yeah, and there would have been paintings, there would have been artwork about those myths.
John from Cleveland. I just did a quick check, and you were wondering it, but you were right. Creon was Jocasta's brother. That's for sure. Now, the other thing is, the Sayers translation I've got calls this the Boge of the sorcerers. But aren't these more soothsayers than sorcerers? And I'm just wondering what you're getting in your translations. Like, Sayers may have been playing a little fast and loose with the translation.
Well, soothsayers is what Longfellow is, and that's the title of this canto. He uses the word soothsayers. So
okay, right. Okay, good. All right.
Well, Sayers calls them sorcerers.
Yeah, that's right, Dee Dee. That's what I've got on my translation too, from Sayers.
Hollander calls them diviners.
Yes. Okay. I want to look that one up, because the Bible actually has, I believe, an injunction against diviners. Let me keep talking. I'll see what I can dig up here.
I think, I think if we
Jocasta was the wife of Laius, father of Oedipus, and she was his mother and his wife. We have a same situation, a similar situation in the end of the Paradiso that says, "O Vergine, madre e figlia de tuo figlio, O Virgin, mother and daughter of your son." We have the same kind of situation, very similar in the Commedia of Dante, in the Paradiso.
Well,
in the last canto.
Yes, I mean she is the mother and also a child of God, if you will, and too. So, yeah.
And we have to believe in these dogmas.
Yeah.
We are supposed to believe.
Right. Yeah. Those are articles of faith, or dogmas, as you would you say, Decio.
I don't believe.
Okay, you're asking about diviners. Quick Google search, Deuteronomy 18:10 to 11.
I thought there was something like this, something
Yeah,
like.
okay, so here you go, John. All the way
Yeah.
to Minnesota here. Let no one be found among you who consigns a son or daughter to the fire, or who is an augur, a soothsayer, a diviner, a sorcerer, one who casts spells, or one who consults ghosts or familiar spirits, or one who inquires of the dead. So there you got it. So it's Lois. It is Old Testament to be sure. I don't know if there's a similar injunction in the New Testament.
No. John, had you finished your part of your reading here?
I stopped at 36.
All right. I think this more will become clear. Some of this, I think, might become clear as we read on up here, get a little more of a handle on what this connection with Virgil is and his story here.
So I'm the next to read. No, I'm next.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I guess you are. Yeah,
Line 30,
Mr. Brazil.
30.
That's you, Decio.
39. 39.
Yeah.
See,
37, Decio, I think.
okay. See, he has made a boson of his shoulders, because he wished to see too far before him. Behind he looks, and backwards goes his way. Behold Tiresias, who his semblance changed, when from a male a female he became, his members being all of them transformed, and afterwards was forced to strike once more the two entangled serpents with his rod. Here he could have again his many plumes. That Aaron's is, who backs the other's belly, who in the hill Luni there were grubs, the Caroris, who houses underneath, among the marbles, while wide a cavern had for his abode, whence to behold the stars, and see, the views was not cut off from him. And she, there who is covering up her breasts, which thou beholdest not with loosened tresses, and on that side has all the hair skin, was Manto, who made quest through many lands, afterwards tarried there where I was born, whereof I would thou list to me a little, after her father had from life departed, and the city of Bacchus had become enslaved. She a long season wandered through the world. So we are starting to talk about Tiresias, who changed from male to female, so on. We already discussed this. And then Virgil explained that he came from Mantua and talks about Carrara and his marbles. No?
Yeah, who is this Aaron and the Carese who houses underneath? What are we talking about there?
Yeah, I don't know who is Aaron.
Here's my note.
Aaron's
Okay, go ahead.
was an
Etruscan. Etruscia citat is cited in Pharsalia, wrote by Lucano. So it's just a character. Etruscan.
Etruscan.
Araspis. I don't know what Araspis.
Lucan, as you remember, was one of the honored poets, right, back in limbo with Homer and Ovid and Horace. And Aaron's makes a prophecy about the coming civil war between Caesar and Pompey, and
My connection failed.
And so forth, but I think he's a fairly obscure figure. I don't know if he's mentioned anywhere else.
And what is in the hills of Luni, there where grubs the Carrarese, who houses underneath among the marbles white a cavern had for his abode. What is that? I mean, is that the Carrarese? Is that a person, or is that a people, or is that a family?
Yeah, there are people who live in Carrara.
Ferrara. Carrara, okay.
Yeah,
What is
Luni
the
is
verb?
a town somewhere in
Somewhere,
Italy.
okay, yeah.
What is the word grubs there?
Where does it
Right.
appear?
Like these are
48, 47. Who in the hills of Luni, there where grubs the Carrarese, who houses underneath among the marbles white a cavern had. So what is this for his abode? What is this grubs, where grubs
I don't have
the
I don't have
Carrarese?
I don't have grubs, but it does talk about working the earth. So could it be like bugs that are turning the earth like worms?
well, maybe something like that, yeah.
What does your line say, Lois?
Oh, shelter in the valley, work the earth. So I have this idea of burrowing insects or something working the earth.
Yeah, work the earth. So it could be a kind of farming, a word for their farming or gardening.
So
This Aronta was also a soothsayer.
Aronta?
Aruns, as we say.
Aruns. Yeah, Oronta. Oh yeah, Aruns. Yeah, yeah. A very obscure.
Runs is a runta.
Yeah, as you
Is
see.
another soothsayer from Etrusc.
Oh yeah.
Etrusca.
Okay. Hmm.
It says hoes and rakes at Sayers.
Mm-hmm. So that whole part is referring to Aaron's, who is this obscure figure, as John mentioned, from Lucan. And so then he's right next to Manto, who is a woman who has hairy skin. Was she supposed to be a soothsayer too? I wonder. Is that
Yeah, it says, and as Treskin augur, and Lucan is the source of that story.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Pharsalia, a book called Pharsalia.
Pharsalia. Okay.
By Lucano.
Okay. And so that leads, well, that sort of leads into this question about where Virgil is from.
Well, doesn't he say pretty clearly the place where I was born?
Yeah, my city. He calls it my city.
But
line 56 says the place where I was born.
Yeah, that's what it says here in Luke and Longfellow's too. Now, is Manto, is she also a soothsayer or sorceress of some kind?
The Pharsalia is related to the civil war between the triumvirs, Julius Caesar, Pompeo, and Crassus.
Okay.
Civil war in Rome, the Roman Empire.
So this Aaron's and this story that's not really mythical anymore. That's sort of has some historical foundation, it sounds like.
Historical.
Yeah.
She's described here as Manto, daughter of Tiresias, Theban prophetess. So she's a prophetess.
Oh,
yeah, and Lois, I've just done some back channel research. She founded an oracle. Yes, Right. In Western Asian Minor, she founded the Oracle of Apollo Clarios. So I'm certain Dante would have taken a dim view of these oracles as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And yes, John, I'm just looking here. In Roman myth, Manto went to Italy and gave birth to Ocnus, Father Tiberius. Ocnus founded Mantua and named it after his mother. It is said that Manto's abilities in prophecy were much greater than her father's. So there it is.
Yeah, okay. Hmm.
So that comes up, I think, as we read ahead here.
Yeah. And just as a note of interest, you don't try any funny stuff with Manto because Lampus, who tried to violate Manto on her couch, was killed by Apollo for this act. So
Oh.
you better keep it pretty clean when you're dealing with Manto.
So and then she founded this oracle to Apollo.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right. They were kind of tied pretty closely, I guess.
So
So Lois,
shall we read on?
yeah, I don't
Lois?
know, I'm ready.
Lois,
Okay, am I the next reader?
you're the next
Yeah.
reader.
What line are we on?
52,
52.
53. I
All
have
right.
trouble reading
All right, I'll
numbers.
pick it up at 52. And that female, whose backward flowing tresses fall upon her breasts so they are hidden, and has her hairy parts on that same side, was Manto, who searched through many lands before she settled in the place where I was born. For just a moment, hear me out on this. After her father had parted from this life and the city of Bacchus was enslaved, she wandered for a time about the world. High in fair Italy, at the foot of the Alps that form a border with Germany near Tyrol, lies a lake they call Benacco. By 1,000 springs and more, I think, the region between Garda, Valcamonica, and Pennino is bathed by waters settling in that lake. There is an island in its middle that the pastors of Trent, Brescia, and Verona, should they pass that way, would bless. Peschiera, a strong and splendid fortress against the Brescians and the Berganese, sits on the lowest point of land around. Anything to discuss in those?
Hmm.
I think it's just.
Actually, maybe an anatomical question. In the verse that starts at 52, what I've got is, she that veils her breasts by thee unseen with her loose locks, and viewed from where we stand, has on the far side all her hairy skin. Do you have a reference to hairy skin as well?
No, I have hairy parts. I'm assuming that this, what he's saying is her head is turned around, so her hair is on her back, but her pubic hair is on the front.
Right. Okay. Actually, I get that now. Yeah, good. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So Sayers was being just a little delicate in her translation here. Yeah. Okay.
What the city of Bacchus becoming enslaved?
That's Thebes. So yeah, we're back to Thebes again, and I guess this is a reference to when Creon became king of Creon, Jocasta's brother, became king after Oedipus's sons had slain one another in battle. But enslaved seems kind of an overstatement. They had a king already, and they have a king again.
Well, it sounds
then,
that way.
then,
Well,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say, it seems the way that this transition here, there's sort of like they're tracing almost like a lineage of well, now Virgil's hometown of Mantua back to Greek mythology in a way, or to ancient Greece and to Thebes. And so there's this kind of a connection there that he derives some maybe almost like a mythological connection himself to the gods and the mythological personages of Greek myth here, of Greek poetry and the Greek poetic epic poetry and so forth, which is kind of an interesting thing, I suppose. But
the Greeks dominated the south of Italy, Sicily, Naples, and Mantua is in the north of Italy. So I don't understand.
Yeah,
Mantua is by the Po River. No?
Okay.
well, so now he's saying this is it's in kind of in the northern Italy. Yeah, it's where the boundary between Germany and it sounds like the Alps or Switzerland or something, and Italy, where they kind of where they are kind of connected in those days.
So
Because the south of Italy was called Magna Greece, no? Magna Greece, big Greece.
Big Greece. Oh, really? Okay.
So this word enslaved, Dante, it seems to me, must have been coming from making commentary on the political change that he disapproved of.
He is describing the Lake of Garda and the other cities around this region by the veil of the Po, around the Po River.
Right.
Pescara, Brescia, Camonica, Val de Camonica, the Alps, Tyrol, so is all the region. Today is Veneto and also Trento, around Trento, that's the area.
But Manto was left. She was exiled, it seemed like Dante was. It seems like there is a political dimension to this part of the story.
Well, he's, Virgil or Dante has Virgil describing this kind of in a roundabout way, the topography or the geography of this area, and then where these like waters flow and there's rivers and so forth. In the next kind of thing, I was reading ahead a little bit here, and this is all kind of connected with this somehow. He's trying to make
in order to locate Mantua in the geography of the region.
Right.
Bergamo, Brescia is very close to Milan.
Okay.
So I'm now wondering, there must be some connection in your mind between the politics and the terrain.
Yes, yeah.
But I don't know what it might be.
It's a geographical approach of Mantua. Where is it? The city is located by the lake. The lake of Benacco. Benacco is the lake of Garda. It's the same.
But I mean, what does it have to do with Manto's exile, and how is that connected with Dante's exile?
No, Virgil is explaining where Mantua is located. Is given the geographical approach to explain where Mantua is located.
I think this is just descriptive. This is just descriptive.
But the enslaved part and the exiled part are what I feel confused about. Like there's more to this.
Right. Well, I think he's going about this in a roundabout way, a very poetic way of connecting these different places through description of geography and rivers, lakes, and so forth. And it goes down to, well, I think if we read on, it's going to finally, I think he's going to get to his destination here.
Yeah.
All will hopefully made clear.
All will be revealed.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. So are you done? Are you done reading, Lois? Maybe we should just
I
pass.
think so. Move on to the next segment. I'm done, whoever is after me.
That's me. And Lois, could you just remind me if the discussion has sort of transpired and everybody's ready to move on? Lois, could you just remind me where you stopped, please?
I think 66, no, 69, 72. I finished at 72.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to actually start, not to be contrary, but I'm going to start at 70 because in my version, the sentence runs over into the next canto, into that. So let me just see. Peschiera sits at the circling shore's descent. Against Bergames and Brescians built for cover, a goodly keep. There all the effluent Beneco's bosom cannot hold spills over, slipping and lipping down, and sliding so through verdant meads, a river and a rover. Beneca called no more, but Mincio, from where the water first sets head to run, down to Guverno, where it joins the Po. It finds a level ere half its course is done, and there stagnates and spreads to a marshy fen, rank and unwholesome in the summer sun. Passing that road, the cruel witch maiden found in the marsh firm tracts of land which lay untilled and uninhabited of men. There, shunning human contact, did she stay with her familiar household. There she plied her arts. There lived, there left her empty clay. After, the scattered folk from far and wide drew to the spot, which lay defensively, being girded by the swamp on every side. O'er those dead bones they built their city, to be for her sake named, and chose the place out thus, Mantua with no further augury. Far more than now it once was populous, ere Casalodi's folly fell to the sword of Pinamonte, who is treacherous. I charge thee then, if stories go abroad, other than this, how my city grew, let no such lying tales the truth defraud.
So this Mantua, it sounds like then was away from, it's down in this result of where this river ends up. It's in an empty plain. Is this where this augury? Somebody said this. What did you say? It was not an augury, but it was an oracle. Is this
Yeah,
the oracle?
that was in another place, I think. Let me just go back and check.
Well, this is Manto, who has established her kingdom here, let's say, where
Yes.
she can practice her magical arts.
Yes.
She founded the Oracle of Apollo Clarios at a place called Claros in Western Asian Minor. So it's not Mantua where she did that.
Well, it sounds like Virgil is saying that she did practice her sorcery there, or whatever it is, soothsaying, and this is where she really did it. And they named this place after her. Huh.
He's also described the course of the river Po, because it crosses many marshes areas, low areas with palud, I would say palud in English, I don't know, with these swamps, many swamps, till it arrives to the delta in the Adriatic, many swamps.
Dave, can you go back to line 82 and read what you have there?
Sure could. Yep. Let's just see. 82. Passing that road, the cruel witch maiden found in the marsh firm tracts of land which lay untilled and uninhabited of men. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Swamps. You can see the swamps.
There's nothing in the Italian about witches. There's virgine, virgin.
Yeah, my English translation says virgin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here again, no son to found a city and name it after her. The
Yeah,
way
that's a good point.
Virgil told it in the Aeneid. But
That
your
is,
translators
virgin is
taking
related to the
liberties
land.
with witch.
But
This
the final
virgin is
line,
related to the land,
Virgil is related to the land. Okay.
to the land, not no crops, no forest, no nothing.
oh, so you think it's virgin land, not the virgin
Virgin
person.
land, yes, virgin land, not cultivated, no agriculture,
Okay,
Well,
so yeah,
this
you said
says when
no
passing,
no agriculture and no people.
Yeah, the virgin
Yeah.
pitiless land.
yeah.
Is the land,
Yeah.
virgin land.
La Vergine cruda vide terra.
Yeah,
But they
So
are
how do you
referring
translate that, Lois?
The something virgin life, earth life, soil life, lives the earth, vide.
Saw,
no agriculture, no people,
he saw the
just
land.
swamps, just swamps.
Well,
he's-
the
you know,
Italian reads, Quinda passando la Vergine cruda vide terra nel mezzo del pantano.
Senza culturas, no culture,
Yeah,
no
Without
agriculture,
culture, yeah, Santa Cultura,
and no inhabitants.
and it's nude of habitation. Empty
Yeah,
habitation.
no population.
Yeah, virgine has to be the subject of vide. The
Vide is
Cruda
nothing.
saw the land, and the land is Sansa Cultura without cultivation and
And no inhabitants, no inhabitants. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, he's not referring to the virgin as if, he's not referring to Manto as if she's a virgin. That's an adjective, the virgin pitiless land. It's really more an adjective there.
no, I think it's I think it's the subject. The virgin saw the land.
Vide.
Oh, the virgin pitiless described land in the middle of the fen. So he's got this kind of inverted order. The way, at least this translation has inverted the order until the negative inhabit. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. So he's not, yeah, he hasn't dropped the subject, who is still Manto. He's still talking about Manto. And so the virgin described.
Yeah, maybe Manto. Manto is a virgin.
Yeah. Okay. The virgin. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, she saw the land.
Yeah. She described the pitiless land in the middle of the fen.
The pride, yeah.
Yeah. Untilled and naked of inhabitants. It's a barren thing. So that's how you could a straight, you might say a more
That's
less
right.
poetical way.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah. I think we have to parse that out, I think so.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I really appreciate when people raise, questionable points of translation, because if you hadn't said anything, I would have thought witch maiden.
Yeah.
But there's a real sort of kind of moral magnitude of that term, witch maiden, which doesn't have to use virgin or maiden.
Mm.
Sure.
In fact, virgin would be perhaps a more, like, if witch maiden is negative, virgin would be positive, because we would associate her with the BVM, as George Carlin used to call her.
I love that line. Did we read like 88 yet?
Let me just see, Dee Dee. 88. Yes. After the scattered folk from far and wide drew to the spot which lay defensibly, being girded by the swamp on every side. So this, yeah. So go ahead. Sorry, Dee Dee, go ahead.
The verse is there to escape all human intercourse. She with her servant stayed, her arts to practice, and lived and left her empty body there. I just think that's a beautiful line. Left her empty body there.
It is interesting from the point of view of the poem itself that that Dante would spend this many lines describing Mantua and its origin story. And I'm wondering, I mean, I truly don't know, but I'm wondering if it is another kind of tribute to Virgil.
Well,
Except the line that says, allow no lie to falsify the truth. He's changing Virgil's story and then having Virgil say, but this is the true story.
Right. Yeah, he does. It's good. So Lois, is it deliberate, or is it one of these things where he didn't read the Aeneid perhaps as closely as he might have?
What line is that, Lois, about allow no lie?
Not 99.
Oh, that's ahead.
So you're questioning, Dave, that maybe Dante didn't know when he's making
I
this
don't
stuff.
know.
No, it's so deliberate for him to be saying, forget everything else that Virgil told you. This is the truth.
Yeah.
It's deliberate. And why he does it, I don't know.
Well, it's good. It's a good point.
well, I mean, maybe we're not finished with this canto yet, though.
Right.
I think, and one other point here, I guess maybe if it would just clarify something for me, if no one else, about the stupidity of Casalodi from Pinamonte had received deceit. There's some story there that's alluded to that. Anybody have any clues about that?
What line is that, John?
You know what? Virgil is talking.
Virgil is
and that line about the line here in Longfellow is so much, no falsehood may the verity defraud. This is Virgil talking.
Right. It's Virgil talking, but as Dante makes him speak.
Yeah.
Dante is writing.
Of course. Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Dave, your translation, I picked up, he said about the folly of Casalodi. My translation is ere the stupidity of Casalodi from Pinamonte had received deceit. So the people, it says its people once within more crowded were, ere the stupidity of Casalodi from Pinamonte had received deceit. There's that verse right there. So that's the previous to the final part of that of Virgil's kind of declamation there. He's talking about this about the people who had crowded into Mantua. I don't have my thing is, it doesn't have numbering, so I'm afraid I can't ever tell you what number those are. And so
well, it starts with 88. Did we continue reading from 88? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I finished at
you covered that, Dave. You covered
99. I think I finished at 99, Dee Dee.
Yeah, this Pinamonte took over the power from Casalodi in the city of Mantua.
Okay.
Were they a family or?
I have a note here. When the Guelph leader of Mantua, the Count of Casalodi, allowed himself to be tricked by the Ghibelline Pinamonte Bonacolsi, who apparently convinced him to expel many of the nobles in order to pacify the populace, who were angered by his having come from Brescia. But what happened was when he got rid of all of those nobles, new ones came in. Pinamonte led a popular revolt that sent the count into exile and killed the remaining noble families.
Okay, that's just.
Are those the nobles who helped Dante, with whom he stayed after he was exiled?
No.
No, he was in who was it?
Well, he was in Ravenna, I
He
think,
was in
but
Ravenna. Yeah, Del Grande. What was his name? Come on, Decio,
um,
you got to know this. Who harbored him?
but that wasn't the only one.
Right,
Something
I'll find him. The guy had such
um,
an
That was that
something
that sounds
grande.
yeah, that sounds like it's really talking about a period of Virgil is not referring to times which would have taken place, centuries after his death. And he's talking, sounds like he's talking about more up to Dante's time. So he's telling Dante about maybe some history about this area that has something to do with uh, some of the political strife in Dante's town of Florence.
Are we ready to move on?
No, we could. We're
Yeah,
at
yeah,
127. We close in rapidly on our time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I'm just looking for a little direction here from the group.
yeah. Well, I think maybe just you. Well, I don't know. I think let's finish reading this and maybe maybe Dee Dee, you can finish up your reading and then we can maybe either discuss right now or
Okay.
if we want to run over
It's
a little bit or
kind
please.
of overwhelming. Where did we stop at 99?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're starting at 100. Master, for me, thy teaching is so true.
Okay, and my master, thy discourses are unto me so certain, and so take my faith, that unto me the rest would be spent coals. But tell me of the people who are passing, if anyone noteworthy thou beholdest, for only unto that my mind reverts. Then said he to me, who from the cheek thrusts out his beard upon his swarthy shoulders, was at the time when Greece was void of males, so that there scarce remained one in the cradle, an augur, and with Calchas gave the moment in Aulis when to sever the first cable. Your Phyllis, say it, John.
Eurypylus.
It's 112 or 113. Your Phyllis.
Eurypylus. Eurypylus.
I think that's right. I think Eurypylus would be my guess.
Say it
Eurypylus.
again.
Eurypylus.
Eurypylus, his name was, and so sings my lofty tragedy in some part or other. That knowest thou well, who knowest the whole of it. The next, who is so slender in the flanks, was Michael Scott, who of a verity of magical illusions knew the game. Behold Guido Bonetti, behold Dante, who now unto his leather and his thread would fain have stuck, but he too late repents. Behold the wretched ones who left the needle, the spool, and rock, made them fortune tellers. They wrought and made them fortune tellers. They wrought their magic spells with herb and image. But come now, for already holds the confines of both the hemispheres, and under Seville touches the ocean wave. Cain and the thorns, and yesternight the moon was round already. Thou shouldst remember well, it did not harm thee from time to time within the forest deep. Thus spake he to me, and we walked the while.
Okay, so maybe it seems to make he's asking Dante is asking Virgil if there's anybody that is noteworthy of among these soothsayers or sorcerers. And he mentions Eriphilus and Michael Scott, Guida Bonatti, that's Dante. I don't know, does Eriphilus, does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, I don't know where Dante got this story from. In the Aeneid, in book 2, when the Greeks are trying to get the Trojan horse into the city, a Greek named Sinon poses as a runaway captive, and he makes up this story that says the Greeks are getting discouraged about the war, and they consulted with Eurypylus, and he said they had to abandon it and so forth. And they had to make a sacrifice in order to do that, because they had made a sacrifice of Iphigenia when they were coming over. But connecting Eurypylus with the initial sacrifice when the expedition was first leaving Greece, I don't know where Dante got that idea from.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Okay.
The other person he mentions, Calchas, is the soothsayer who our sources say made that prediction. So Dante is a little garbled here. We're a little bit inaccurate or a little bit creative, as the case may be.
So the time when Greece was void of males would have been during the Trojan War.
Yeah, because they're all going to war.
Exactly. Okay. And so what is the severing the first cable? What would that refer to?
Okay, the Greeks were gathered at Aulis from which to sail, and no wind was being sent. So the prophecy was made that Agamemnon had to sacrifice his daughter, Iphigenia.
Iphigenia. Yeah.
And as an aside, I'll recommend to all of you, it's an old movie now. Michael Kakarianis made a film, I think it's pronounced Iphigenia in the Greek, which is a retelling of Euripides' play on the subject. And I think, in my opinion, the best movie that's ever been made out of a Greek play. I don't know if you can find it online anymore.
What was the title of it?
Iphigenia, or we would say Iphigenia.
And is it in English or is it a foreign film?
It's actually in modern Greek. But it's, in my opinion, it's a fabulous movie. The students I taught it to didn't seem to like it that much because it doesn't have that much action. But
You said it's Michael Cochran or something? Who's the was it the filmmaker, Michael Cochran?
Kakoyannis.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Cacoyannis or something like that.
Okay. I'll look that up and see if it comes up any place.
He also made another film, The Trojan Women, based on a Euripides play.
Was that with Vanessa Redgrave? I think I saw that one. If that was a Vanessa Redgrave.
That sounds right.
Okay.
All right. There's a saying, WWJD, what would Jesus do? And I'm thinking right here it's WWDD, what would Duncan do?
What's he doing right now?
Well, because we're 5 minutes past our time, and I know it's pretty strict on the time.
Just one little point. Cain and the thorns. Cain, just the fifth line up. Cain is the man in the moon, and Sarah's note says anyhow, What's Your Night's Dream, where the moon appears with a lantern and a thorn bush. It's the man in the moon, Midsummer's Night's Dream.
Right. He's holding, this be my lantern, this be my dog.
Well, all right. Well, I guess we've maybe if we can maybe tie up any loose ends maybe next week then.
Sure. What I've done is I've marked with the green pen.
Okay.
Oh, that makes it
Green
official.
pen.
Which rules the green pen rules.
That's
I marked
official.
the line about line 100 with the green pen. So we'll read this through and figure out why we're talking about the man in the moon deep in Hades.
Okay, very good.
I just sent a link
Oh yes.
to
Yeah.
YouTube of it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Let me get that.
Okay,
in
so
the chat.
I'll if you wanna copy and paste that or open that up and bookmark it, I'll wait a minute before ending the meeting. It's in the chat.
Oh, there it is, right there. That's the
got it.
film.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
I
Do
got
you
it.
want to get it, Mr. Minnesota?
I've got it. I've got
You
it.
do. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I would love to get it in email. He's gone.
Okay. Yes. Does someone have Dee Dee's email address? I do not. Okay, Dee Dee, I'll wait.
I'm gonna write it.
I won't close. Put your email in the chat and then I'll email it to you.
Whoops.
So you got this then, Dave, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So I'll hang on. I won't close out on you, Dee Dee, until you send me your email, and then I'll send it to you.
Here goes.
Okay. See you. Take care. Take care, John and John. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So Dee Dee, we're gonna wait a minute, and I'm gonna copy that, and I'll open up an email and see what I can get to you here. Okay. So here, first, let's go. Okay. Copy. I'll go to my email account. I'll compose to paste and YouTube movie. And then let me just copy this link. Copy link. I'll put it in here. Okay, paste. All right. Dee Dee, I just sent it to you. Did you get it?
Oh, it'll take me a few minutes. I have a
Okay,
very
sounds good. I did just send it.
strange community.
And if not-
It'll get here.
Okay, sounds good. If not, you can
Thank you.
you can reprimand me next week.
All right. I promise I'll
All right,
reprimand
we'll
you.
say goodbye. So I'm gonna end this now. Thanks everybody, and
Thank you.
see you next week.